Cast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Powerful Cloud-Based Plug-and-Play Solution to Meet Your Practice's Needs. All lines have been muted. The webinar will last 1 hour, and we will have dedicated time after the presentation for Q&A. If you have questions throughout, simply type them in, and we will address them during the Q&A time. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent to each participant afterwards. Our speaker for today is Ashley Rosenthal-Kozak. Ashley is the Director of Practice Solutions at iCare Leaders, where she works with iCare providers to find the best solution fit for their practice. We will also hear from Dan Sokolich as he will provide a demo of the practice management software. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. At this time, I will turn the webinar over to Ashley.
Thank you, Bridget, and hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. I'm really excited to show you some potential solutions to help your practice. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Just a little overview of what we're going to cover today. First of all, we're going to talk about some of the benefits of moving to a cloud-based solution, whether you're currently on paper and using a practice management system, or if you're using a server-based EMR as well. We'll talk about some of the improvements and efficiencies that you can expect to experience. We'll also go over what myCare Integrity offers as a product, and well, some feedback from clients, and then the really exciting part, get into a live demo. So we'll actually see the product in action. You won't just have to listen to me talk about stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, some of the best cloud-based solutions are the ability to manage and maintain it over time. So if you have servers in your office, that just simply purchasing a server is not the end of the line. There's maintenance, there's updates, there's frequent IT costs built into the ongoing life of your server. So those IT resources are reduced or better utilized. We know you have valuable IT staff sometimes right in your office, or you use another company, and so you won't have to utilize those resources on maintaining a server. If you have another project that you've been putting on the back burner for time and resources, you can worry about that, and you can focus on that and see those improvements actually filter into your practice. Your cloud-based EHR is also more accessible. So whether you are in the office pulling up a patient, if your doctors are on call and they want to pull up the patient's record right on their cell phone, wherever they have internet browsing capability, they have their software. So imagine not having to find a desktop or find a remote login wherever they are in order to access those records. It's really going to streamline your ability to provide quality care to your patients. And then finally, a cloud-based EHR. The way that cloud-based solutions are built and designed are in order to promote growth, and so we can, add features and functionality and enhancements without any interruption to your practice either. It's a much more simple process than updating a server-based software to be able to update your cloud-based solution. So just to kind of keep in the back of your mind, Integrity is an EMR and practice management solution. So it can meet all of your needs. It also has, we call it a plug and play. So you can fit in the additional features that you need. If you need an optical, we've got a solution for that. It fits right in with Integrity. If you need analytics, portal, or an ASC, those are all integration options that we can work with you so that we build a customized approach as opposed to one big package deal, a blanket deal for everybody. We're going to customize this and tailor it to your practice's needs. So the EMR, as I've said, it's efficient, it's effortless. You're going to experience benefits in your practice, and that's just a given. And you'll see as we get into the demo, the streamlined workflow makes it incredibly easy to use as well. So training new staff members, using it on the go, the jump start for the program is a really effortless system. It was also designed by an ophthalmologist, so it's going to match your eye care workflows. There's no other priority other than eye care. So all of our development, all of our efforts are to develop the best templates, the best features and functionality for your practice. So eye care is our only priority. It's also secure anywhere. So the system itself, your personalized URL that you're using, that is this where the security is. So you can access this from your office on a desktop, laptop, smartphone device, and you don't just have to be in that office. What's protected is your system. So it's completely secure regardless of where you're accessing that from. Finally, there's efficient transition of a data migration through Go Live. So we can analyze your current system, figure out the mapping, and develop the best possible data migration approach for your practice. And there's also no interruption to your cash flow. So it's really built to make this a seamless, enjoyable process, believe it or not. Finally, the practice management piece. Before we dive into the demo, I want to talk about some of the cool features of our PM solution. There is customized reporting. It has a 98% first-time claims acceptance rate, which is major. And Dan's going to talk a little bit more about this when he does his overview, but a lot of that is based on the claim scrubbing capability that we have built in, and he'll tell you what makes ours more unique than anything else on the market. We also have coding and billing systems result in a reduced AR days, so we're going to minimize the AR, outstanding AR, and help you increase a better cash flow. All right, so here's just a few things that clients have to say. We have a fella at Eye Surgeons of Indiana says it is easy to use, it gets the job done, and it's not overwhelming. This is easy to hear. We can all tell you this all day long, but you're going to see it in just a matter of moments when they pull up the system. They all say it's a great platform, so it's innovating and it makes me a better doctor. And I know Dr. Fishman is just one of many who experiences this, because our goal, never in your career did you probably expect or have the desire to be, if you're an office manager, did you want to have to be a software expert or a coder or developer or IT specialist? No, you guys got into this industry because you want to take good care of your patients and you're passionate about that quality care. So us making this innovative and easy to use allows you to focus on that passion as opposed to worrying about all of this, software and learning curves out there. So also, you don't have to change the screen 100 times. This is a huge efficiency drive. So some of my associates shared that everything is on one screen. You're just working through your workflow and you don't have to have, several windows popped up at once. And one of the things that this kind of leads naturally to, if it's more efficient, you're going to see more patients. So in the same amount of time, you can add patients and really see that actualized revenue increase. And any one of us are happy to. Please, reach out after the webinar if you would like a personalized, value proposition where we can show you real live numbers and how it can impact your practice. So without any further ado, let me pull up the system itself. All right, so I'm going to give about a 10-15 minute high-level overview of the EMR, and then I will pass it off to Dan to do the same with the PM. I invite you to reach out after the webinar if you would like to see a more in-depth demonstration. Myself and any of our account managers would be happy to arrange a time to kind of dig deeper with you. So the first thing I want to note for you is that the URL up here is going to be personalized to your practice. This is what gives you access to your system. That's why it doesn't matter what device you're on, because you'll be able to save this URL in any web browser and access it any time. So we're going to log in through the True Cloud solution. The first page it takes us to, if you're logging into the EMR dashboard, is going to be our schedule for the day. So our schedule is color-coded. You see here it's based on status. So if the patient is checked out, it's one color, versus if they're with the doctor, ready for the doctor, or if they've just checked in or yet to arrive. So the color coding gives you an idea right off the bat of where folks are in the office and in their workflow, as well as the ability to see their actual physical location if you'd like as well. Over here, and this is for some of you who are maybe going from paper to EMR and you're hesitant and worried about losing charts, because you know you have a workflow built in for bins and such. This is all of your open encounters, so you're never going to lose a patient. At the end of the day, you look here, and if a patient has a chart open, then it's going to be in this bin. So you kind of look at this as a guide of when you empty out your bin, then you're good for the day and nobody's been left behind or forgotten. What we're going to do then is I'm going to get Mr. Silverstone worked up as if he's the next patient to be brought back, and I will go through the technician workup as well as a doctor exam. So when I click on Mr. Silverstone, it's going to pull up his personalized dashboard. I love this. It gives you a snapshot of his past encounters, any past testing. You can see even how long ago they've had a test, and you know if they're about due for another one. A nice little snippet of his demographics, which automatically filters because it is that all-in-one system. Past eye problem surgeries, and then all of your documents and testing are housed here, which I'll show you more of once we're in the exam. I'm going to go ahead and start a new encounter to show you the safety feature here. If you're busy and you have a lot of techs working people up, if there's already an encounter open, it's going to pop up here and just warn you. I'm going to hit yes though, because I want to give you the full scope from start to finish. So this is where all the magic happens in the exam. Your entire workflow is just left to right on this toolbar. You really can't get lost. It's easier than the yellow brick road. You just click on the next tab, but you see this is all one page. The outside stays the same. No matter where you are, you'll always be able to see your active eye problems. You'll be able to see your messages down here, clinic notes, any summaries, regardless of where you are in the system. You can even have your technicians mark who's doing the workup so that you can track this at a later time, as well as update the status, if they're with the technician and what room they're in. These drop downs are customizable, so we'll say we're in the exam room here, but we'll tailor these to your zones and lanes that you work with in your office. All right, so we're going to work through a quick chief complaint and HPI with Mr. Silverstone. What I want you to take away from this section is that these are tailored to his needs and why he's here today. The line of questioning is also specific to the previous answer. So it's designed in order to A, drive your HPI elements, and B, gather the best possible information for your doctor for that visit. So let's say he's here to follow up of maybe his glaucoma, and he's not taking any medications currently. And it's going to say, are there any other concerns today? I can either say no other complaints, I can add a new complaint, or I can say, you know, he's actually here to follow up of his diabetes as well. Or actually, let's do his macular today. So maybe his macular degeneration is gradually worsening, it's aggravating. Again, these lists are configurable, so we can customize your pick list here, really driving this to be personalized for your practice. Maybe he's a little cloudy and blurry. If anything doesn't apply to him, you can always skip a question. That's no problem. You might want to know about intravitreal injections. Now, obviously, this question is tailored to the problem that we're seeing him for. So it's helping your technicians gather the best possible information. And let's say he has no other complaints today. Our history is complete. Right away, we notice we've got some bullet points here. Those bullet points develop a nice sentence that builds your paragraph. So rather than worrying about speeding through and having some typos, we build these paragraphs for you. It also goes into your clinic notes, so any communication that goes outward of the office to, to another provider, that's going to have these nice paragraphs already built for you. The last thing on this tab to notice is that we've already qualified for an extended exam because of these 5 HPI elements that were automatically calculated just on the technician's responses. So from here, let's go ahead and we'll check the eye history, see if there's been any changes, see if there's any new medications. If not, we can reconcile that and move to the other history. These sections are really easy to update. If you do have something new to add, maybe we just found out that his aunt also had macular degeneration, and hit done, it'll just drop right in there for you. Great and simple to use. So as the technician, I'll move on to the review of systems. I can mark my normals here, and if I want to add something new, I can. But what's important to note is everything else is still going to be marked as normal, so you will get credit for checking those. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to vision. Couple of options here. We have the ability to pull readings directly from a device. So if you're using an autorefractor, something of that nature, you just choose your device from the drop down and we can pull that in here. It'll look something like this, as opposed to, say, a manual manifest. It'll say an autorefractor and you'll have your readings pulled right in. It's a great feature. You can also import previous prescriptions if you need to. If you do choose to do that, when you import that old prescription, it's going to tell you what their most recent visual acuity was the last time you read their vision with that prescription, giving your technicians a starting place. So maybe our vision's getting a little bit worse, so it might be a little bit time for a tune-up. You can also prescribe glasses and contacts from the stage. And I'd be happy to get into those templates in more detail if you'd like to set up a follow-up meeting with me. All right, so the final tab for the technician, and see how easy it was just working down our workflow. We didn't get lost. I'm going to go ahead and check my normals, and if you need to mark your color backpack use here or vital signs, this is the place to do it. You can also check your pressure here and dilate. Now notice two things on the pressure and dilating. We have a timestamp for both of them, so you're going to be able to check that. You also can change the method if you need to. And did you notice this turned bright orange? 46 is a huge pressure. I'm sure very painful for Mr. Silverstone here that I'm picking on. It's turning bright orange because it's an indicator that this is outside of normal range. So if you do need to administer a drop and then wait 10, 15, 20 minutes and see if it comes down, you can take another reading and see if it's come down. If it's still a little high, but it's worked its way down, it's going to come down and show up yellow instead. You can also, because I know for post-surgical patients or different patients with other health concerns going on, they might have a different baseline. So you can adjust the target minimum and maximum based on the individual patient themselves. All right. So now the technician's role is finished. So as the tech, I'm going to just click the dashboard, return Mr. Silverstone to the waiting area or wherever, if he's got to go over to testing, I'll move him and then I can go ahead and get to work on my next patient and get them worked up. Now, for your offices that use either scribes or your doctor goes in next, we'll go ahead and run through that workflow here as well. So Mr. Silverstone, if I'm getting ready to go in and see him and I'm either the scribe or the doctor, I can again click his name and see that nice snapshot of anything that's been going on. If they had any OCTs today, that's going to be uploaded into Integrity. So OCTs, visual fields, fundus photos, whatever have you, is housed in Integrity. So I can open multiple, zoom in, do my interpretation, and then, check all of those boxes before I go in to see Mr. Silverstone. From here, I'm going to join his visit for the day. Notice that it takes me right to the doctor review. I don't need to click on each of these tabs to get my update because we've summarized all of that right here for you. So you're going to see the eye problems, the surgery, the history, everything from today's exam in one place, and then move on to your exam. From here, there are a few options. You can, document from within normal limits and add, or you can pull up past encounters. So if I want to import my previous visit with them, or even go back a few, maybe they had some tech-only visits and I want to go back to the last full visit. That's all an option here. I'm going to go ahead and import. When I import, everything that's already been documented at the previous visit will be in red. I can also, at this point, take a look at prior encounters. So we know our docs like to be able to flip back through, see what maybe the last impression and plan was, what the last documentation was in the exam. Anything that you want to see from a past visit is going to be available here. And you can also just hit this previous button and keep going through several previous exams, or choose the specific one that you know you're looking for. So let me collapse those prior encounters. Let's get back to today's visit. A couple of things to note. You can click anywhere in here to add a new finding. I'm just going to click in the cornea area. because I have a commonly used bucket that that I set up to show you. So your main findings that your doctor's using, we can customize a commonly used drop down for you, and teach you how to edit that moving forward too, so that you can continue adding and growing the specializations in your system. So let's add a finding here, maybe some moderate dry eye, and then maybe we want to do a quick drawing as well. If you hit quick draw, the most commonly used template for this segment is going to populate. You can of course select from any of our templates if you'd like as well, but quick draw is just going to bring you the most commonly used one, along with stamps or the ability to freehand. So you can save that drawing and maybe try out a different section, just to show you the difference. Obviously, if I'm an optic disc, it's going to populate the most commonly used drawing for an optic disc. It doesn't mean you can't select from multiple, because we have, let me get to optic disc here, all of these different options that you can customize and make your selection if you need to do something different there. When I'm done with my findings, I'm going to go over to my impression and plan page. This is where some of that really intuitive, those intuitive features that we were discussing earlier come into play as well. The impression and plan and the coding pages have been tracking everything that we did in the visit up to now, and it's going to help us make recommendations and make this a more efficient process for wrapping up the visit. So a new finding was added, and it's showing up in bright red saying, hey, this is a suggested diagnosis. It also has the code attached right there. I can either add the problem or I can reject the problem. If I choose to add a problem, any plan in my library that's associated with that ICD-10 code is going to populate as a suggested plan. So I can say, you know what, I do want to use this plan. Maybe I don't need to use that one. It's a little redundant, but any of the options are going to populate for you. If you have a current library of plans in your system now, we can help get all of those brought into integrity, and then just associate those ICD-10 codes. You don't have to use our library, but we do have a full library available for you. So here's just that plan library. Again, each of these plans are associated with an ICD-10 code, so when that code gets used, it's going to get recommended. This is where we'll also go ahead and, let's see, if we want to notify another provider, we have some letter templates in here. I just choose, maybe I just want to follow up. It's really customizable. We'll run you through training for this as well. I'll select the doctor that I want it to go to. I'll say, let's go ahead and send the complete encounter notes and images, and we're going to mail it to the patient. So I can save and add another or just move on. You can also schedule your return visits here. Let's say we want to see Dr. Crow again in 2 weeks. So from here, your final piece, and this is really going to help with a lot of those mixed measures and just being able to provide that quality care. Patient education. You can send patient education now directly to the portal. You can send it and print it off, or you can just choose to print it off only. No matter what you do, it's going to document. I guess I should choose one, huh? I should send one over there. It's going to document that in your plan as well, so that we can see patient education sent to portal. From here, we'll move on and make our coding selections. There's a few things that I really want to drive home. We're going to make recommendations for you based on that visit, based on your reimbursement, and based on the evidence that we have to prove that level. So if we're making a recommendation, that's saying that you've qualified, you've done all of your hard work, and you can feel confident, coding for a level 5. It's also going to recommend an I code if that applies. And it'll say you have enough evidence and documentation to select one of these suggestions. One of the critical, I don't want to call it an error, but one of the critical practices that some doctors and scribes do, and I fully understand as a former scribe myself, is that you undercode because you don't want to trigger an audit, and you figure that's safer. But what that's doing is it's hurting your bottom line. And so if you have the evidence, if you did all that hard work, we want to help you drive an increase in reimbursement. So from here, I'll choose my code, and then I'll go ahead and either submit and close, and that puts my signature on and ends the visit, or I can just submit coding and leave this open if I need to. So I would recommend submitting and closing, and then that wraps up the visit. So simple as that. Again, in the interest of your time and your schedule, we just did a high-level overview, but we're happy and available to schedule more in-depth demonstrations if you'd like. So now we see Mr. Silverstone's all done with us. His color changed because of his status. And then your billing and your scheduling can schedule his return visit and start the billing magic. So what we're going to do now, let me just make sure that we've got everybody. Yep. We're going to hand this over to Dan, and he's going to do a similar high-level overview of the practice management piece.
Perfect. Thank you, Ashley, and welcome everybody. Definitely excited to go through the practice management and billing module. I am going to keep this fairly high level. As Ashley mentioned earlier, please feel free to reach out to any of your myCare leader representatives to get any questions answered. So I am going to go ahead and start by talking about some of the critical points of a practice management and billing system that really make it smooth day to day. So for starters, what you're seeing on your screen now is dashboard. All right. Now, not every single user will have the rights to see some of the key financial data. For those that are set up, you will find that you can have a very quick snapshot of some of those key performance indicators, your days in AR, your total AR, unbilled, exclusion, and counters. And then we can also get a very quick snapshot of where our AR is at, right? This is our revenue, so we need to be tracking that all the time. And then, of course, our claims efficiency. Outside of that, you'll see your messages laid out here, any recent news, any release guide, information, help files, video trainings. Those are all accessible to you from the dashboard. Every single keystroke is also audited in the system, so you will be able to go back and look when and who did a particular action in the system. From here, I'm going to jump into the scheduler. Now, the scheduler is a very customizable piece to the system. A lot of practices operate very differently. Every practice on this phone is not created equally. And so therefore, we give a lot of flexibility when it comes to the scheduler, how to customize that, how to build it out, and how to template that. So for starters, what you're seeing is all of my patients that are on the schedule that are yet to be checked in. The front desk is able to follow that patient as they move from coming up to checked in, and we'll just go ahead and take Bob Jones here, and we'll move him to a checked in status. And there's a couple of things that I will point out. Number one, you just saw little Bob move over to in office, all right? And then you're also seeing that same filled in circle denoting him as checked in. We have an other denotion, checked out, as well as a wait list, okay? Outside of that, you can create as many customs as you want. You can adjust the width to each one of your columns. You can customize the name, the time increments. You are able to double and triple book. You are able to put holds or blocks on specific time frames, and you could also do those on the fly, as you're kind of seeing here. I can do a new appointment, block this, or put a hold on it on the fly, and then you are also able to set up specific templates to make sure that we're filling our calendar as much as we can, right? We want as many patients on that calendar and really stuff it full of patients to bring in that revenue. Outside of that, a couple of other nice things that I'll point out, and you're going to hear me talk a lot about, number one, transparency, and number two, revenue, all right? So your front desk is generally the one that's going to be dealing with the scheduler, as well as that's your first line of defense at the front desk if there's a patient balance due or there are questions about any financials. So a couple of nice pieces when it comes to some of that transparency that I was referencing all I have to do is hover over a patient and I can see what their patient and family, what they owe, right? From here, I can also quickly see what their copay is, as well as date of birth, phone number, and insurance. Now, when I click it, it gives me, kind of opens that pane up and also gives me a few more points to navigate this particular patient. So if I need to check them out, if I need to cancel them, no-show them, so on and so on, kind of what you're seeing here. So that's a little bit as far as a quick overview of what the actual schedule looks like. Let's go ahead and run through actually scheduling a patient. So I'm going to go ahead and hit new appointment here. I will search for a patient. This will also go against 11 different data points to make sure, up to 11 if you want, to check against any duplicated patients. Because if there's one thing we don't ever want to do, right, is submit a claim, have that come back because it has new patient codes on it, but the patient was seen 7-8 months ago. Plus, it makes it really confusing on the clinical side as well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and select Mark Byrne. You can see that it will drop a patient memo. This patient memo is designed to make sure we are facilitating or acting upon any action items for that particular patient. Excuse me. From there, you can see defaults to the provider that is in that column, facility, any instructions. This is kind of a nice little piece to the system as well. I can customize any of these particular appointment types, and then I can also automatically attach patient instructions to that appointment type to where these will automatically be emailed out when I hit save, as long as they have an email, obviously. The comments here is going to be for internal use, and I'll highlight where that is here in a second. For any of those that have the front desk obtain pre-authorizations, there's a great way to navigate directly to that by hitting this plus button, and it'll allow you, and I'll show you in the demographics here shortly, but it will actually allow you to put in any pre-authorization number, and that tab will also track any spending and or visits that are against that pre-authorization. Other than that, we can mark our referring provider. Once I hit save, you will notice that my patient's now on the schedule. When I hover over that patient, again, you're kind of seeing what I was talking about earlier, internal use right here, any instructions that were sent to the patient, and then of course, does the patient owe us money, right? We want to know about that. So that's a basic overview of the scheduler, how we schedule patients. Again, very, very customizable and also very, very transparent when it comes to revenue. Next, I'm just going to jump through demographics fairly quickly because I do want to spend the bulk of my time on the claim scrubbing technology that really buttons itself up to that coding engine that's layered into the clinical side as well. So I'm going to search for my main man, Mark Byrne here. You'll see that he is right there. Now, anytime I search for a patient that has a patient memo, and you'll see it again here, just like you saw in the scheduler, that patient memo will drop on the practice management side. So as I hit OK, we're going to go ahead and pull Mark Byrne up. You can see right here that we have our patient memo talking about contacting the billing office. Pretty basic demographic page here showing address, contact information, insurance information, and AR buckets. Responsible party. Now, if we ever needed to put a primary on the account, this is where we do that. So if there are other patients underneath that particular responsible party, this is where it's all listed out, and you're also seeing the family AR buckets. Insurance tab, this is just where we house the insurance information. One nice piece that I like to highlight here is you are able to do manual eligibility checks. So on that new patient that comes in, right, we want to make sure that number one, we entered the information correctly, and number two, that they gave us the information correctly, because we don't want to have revenue being held up in a claim that's being put through the denial process. Excuse me, referrals. So this is that tab that I was talking about from the scheduler that you could actually come to and put in your pre-authorization here. You can have multiple pre-auths if you would like, as well as whether it's against visits, charge amounts. You can put any diagnoses along with it if you would like to, And as charges come over, it will automatically deduct from or show the amount used and show you what's remaining as well. And then, of course, any notes that we want to put in for that particular patient. Here's where we track our outbound referrals. Pretty straightforward, very similar to the inbound. And then our marketing efforts. So the marketing efforts are designed and customizable for you to say, all right, maybe I just started working with a new optometrist and I want to track some of their referrals. I can put them as a source and then really run some reports to see how that relationship is going. Appointments is just going to be your appointments ledger. So it will show anytime there were moves, cancels, or no-shows. I love this, and I think it's underutilized because we do have patients that are chronic no-showers or chronic cancelers. And so when we have that, let's go ahead and put a patient memo down and require a deposit for them to hold that appointment because they're taking up a revenue-generating spot on your calendar. Sorry about that. I just had to get the drink of water. So your tasks as we go here, any recalls, any messages for that patient, transaction entry, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat when it comes to workflow. This is one place that you can enter a charge and or payment. And you can also retrieve filed EOBs. So older EOBs would show up here, but it's giving you that family and patient AR bucket overview. You can do your receipt or statements from here and any debit adjustments. History is where I'm going to end today, but this is basically that financial ledger. A couple of nice things that I like to point out is it does show facilities. So for those on the call that have multiple facilities, but we have some centralized billing or something like that, this is really nice because it's going to identify where the charge is coming from. So if there are any questions, you can quickly get to that particular facility. So that's a little on our demographics. From there, I'm going to jump into the claim submission process. And this is really where we separate ourselves from a lot of the other ones that you may have used in the past and or have looked at as well. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get that to center for you. So let's talk a little bit about that process. Now, I actually talked about having that coding engine layered in, making sure that we're maximizing revenue from a clinical standpoint. Now, it's important that we're maximizing efficiency because efficiency is tied to revenue on the billing side. Every single time we get a denied claim, right, that's going to cost us money because we have to rework it, and it causes our billers a lot of stress, and they've got a very difficult job as well because they're handling a tremendous amount of responsibility and revenue. So as the chart is completed and saved, that charge will then come over to this charge review tab where billing staff will have one more opportunity to come in and identify any changes that they want to make. If they have identified that they'd like to make changes, you can double click a box and it will bring up the HCFA and you can go ahead and make the changes that are necessary. Once, me as a biller, I feel good about that. I can approve them all at once, go through them one at a time if I'd like to. Once I hit approve, they're going to come over to our claims inspector. This is where I'm going to take a couple of extra minutes on this particular tab because there's a lot of technology layered into this, and it's significant technology when it comes to maximizing revenue and efficiencies that are tied to revenue. All right. So most of you are going to, or any billers on this call are going to be very familiar with a company called Optum. It will show up on EOBs coming back from United Healthcare. I'll give you a little bit of backstory on Optum. They started way, way back when publishing coding books. Now these coding books, as electronic claim submission started to come to play, they took that knowledge base from the coding books and actually put that into this claims or into a claim scrubbing tool for insurance companies. All right, so your payers, most of your payers, about 30% of all your payers, and especially the major ones, United Healthcare, Medicare, Medicaid, most of your BCBSs, they're all utilizing Optum's claim scrubbing technology to adjudicate your claims. Well, guess what we have? We actually have Optum's claim scrubbing technology layered into our claims inspector tab. So this, coupled with the coding engine from the clinical side, really does maximize revenue and efficiency. Not only that, but we all know that some of these larger payers love to make changes mid-year. So if there are any changes that need to be made or that they make, we're going to see that update through Optum because that's what we use, right? So we're basically doing the adjudication process before the claim even hits the clearinghouse. What does this do for you? It improves upon first pass acceptance rates, but more importantly, it actually boosts your first pass pay rates, which means you're getting money sooner. And that means that you're able to leverage revenue by generating additional revenue from that revenue, right? I'm probably going to overuse revenue. I'm sorry. It's a big deal in what we do day to day. From there, we're going to move over to our claim submission tab. Now, this is where, again, some of the technology that we have layered in here is different from what most are used to. The clearinghouse has a certain level of integration that makes life very, very easy. In other words, I'm not downloading an 837 on the way out, and I'm not uploading that 835 on the way back in. All of it is integrated. All I have to do is hit my claim submission wizard, decide how I want to submit my claim. Any paper claims will queue up right here to print off. And once I hit run, then it will go ahead and send those claims over to the clearinghouse. Now, the clearinghouse that is integrated is Relay Health, which is under the Change Health brand. So for any of you that had that question, that's the clearinghouse that's layered in. So as we kind of continue through this very linear approach, so you saw the linear approach on the clinical side to efficiently move through a patient visit. Now we're looking at a very linear approach as far as billing all of the claims. My unbilled tabs are my level 1 denials. Now, I don't have any because I'm not connected to a clearinghouse, but this is basically where it went out, hit the clearinghouse because we have front-end edits set up with them, and they said, hey, before I send this, based on the info that I have, I'm going to send it back to you really quickly, right? And I think it's every 2 or 3 hours that this is updating. And so it really is efficient as far as making sure that we're getting updates on claims and changing any claims that need to be changed. Now, exclusions are more of your level 1 denials. So it hit that payer. Payer said, I'm not going to send this through my system because I've already identified, my Optum claims cover has already identified something. So we shouldn't see too many of these, but some of those smaller local payers, they can make it a little bit difficult on y'all. And a lot of claims scrubbers don't get those reports from some of the smaller payers, so you might see some exclusions from that. But these are just the level 1 denials. They're not full-blown denials. They're just some changes that needed to be made on the HCFA, which again makes us very, very efficient. Now our Run Alerts tab. I want to continue to talk about transparency and transparency into revenue. So that revenue, let me just bring up a little bit better screen here to give you an idea of what this would actually look like. And maybe I will skip out on that for 1 second here. That's all right. I'll move on. So think about this Run Alerts tab as basically an alarm clock for your claims. So what this says is I generally expect Medicare to pay me by day 20. Maybe I'll give it a 3-day buffer. Any claim that I submit to Medicare that I haven't seen payment and or denial, then I want you to alert me, system, to tell me, hey, we need to follow up on this, because we all know that payers somehow lose claims, which is not our fault, but they don't take responsibility. And then you're scrambling after you found that needle in a haystack through your 120 days AR that you're looking at, and you submit it and we get timely filing denials. So it's a vicious cycle, and this Run Alerts tab is going to help billing staff keep track of exactly where revenue is at any given time. Now my EDI reports, this once again comes from our clearinghouse and the integration of that clearinghouse. So when we're talking about EDI reports, I'll just bring this up right here, you can see that I can look at EOB reports straight from Relay Health. I can look at claim status reports. But what's significant is I don't have to get out. I just have to, or I shouldn't say I just have to. I don't have to get out of my system to get into a clearinghouse system just to come back. It's all very, very linear as we go through these tasks. So that's a little bit as far as the claim submission process. I only have a couple more minutes, and so I want to cover just a few other things for you. I am going to jump back to my claims inspector tab. I mentioned earlier about some of those local payers that have funky rules that claim scrubbers seem to never pick up. Something that's very nice on top of utilizing Optum is that I can customize carrier-specific rules, bypass rules, or modify rules that we see. Another really nice piece is that it's going to tell you, often give you recommendations on things like modifiers if it's missing, on any diagnoses change. The other piece is when we're bundling multiple procedure codes. Procedure codes hold a value individually, but when they are bundled together, if they're not put in the correct order, it can actually impact reimbursement. So that's another big deal. I'm going to jump into my claim center and talk to you, or excuse me, my remittance. This is where our payments are coming back, and this is where I will probably stop after I show how this is done. A couple of really nice pieces in here. When I select on one of these particular remittances, you'll see that this one says okay, but this one does not. All I have to do is one click process accepted, and it will automatically post and balance any of these that say okay. That just means that I sent it out expecting this payment. It came in with that expected payment. Any times we don't see the okay, I'm able to double click on it, and I can actually pull my ANSI reason codes by hitting this red box here. And you can see that it's bringing up a couple of error codes. So this one exceeds contractual obligations. So therefore, we need to do a couple of things. We can set the system to automatically bill next, so you're secondary, or we can obviously do a transfer, a rebill, a crossover, or hold allowed. All right. We can also customize our own write-off codes. So if that is something that your practice likes to do, is set your fee schedules for certain payers in a certain way, and you like to write off amounts, you can set the system up to do that as well. We can also pull, for those that are billers on this call, and right now you're doing one of two things potentially when it comes to your EOBs. One is you're taking a black Sharpie and a ruler and you're crossing things off. Number two, you might be taking two pieces of paper with that EOB that has all of the EOBs on it and de-identifying other than the patient that you need. We have patient-specific EOBs, and so that's another really, really nice tool. So that's a little bit as far as that claim submission process, how we are scheduling, how we're payment posting. I will go ahead and turn this time back over to Ashley and allow her to kind of finish up from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan, and thank you for a really incredible overview. So that concludes the integrity portion of the webinar. So if you have any questions, go ahead and you can type those into the box, and we can address those before moving on.
Ashley, there is one question here. It says, how does the cloud system access peripherals like the scanners and printers? And how are tests imported, such as OCT, VF, IOL Master?
Okay, great question. So during the training process, we will, and actually even before, signing up to move forward with this, we can go over the list of devices that you have in your office, let you know which ones are compatible with the system, which we do interface with the majority on the market, being a newer, more flexible software that we are. And so we can go through and confirm those for you. And then those are interfaced to a small box that'll be in your office called a Vision Link box, and that will give it access to the cloud-based system anywhere. So let's say your doctor is off-site. You can still have patients scheduled to come in for like testing only visits, for example, and those, let me see, I still have this up, and those, let me actually find, I'm going to do just a super quick show you here. But anyhow, so those tests can still be uploaded, and the doctor can see those from anywhere. So he doesn't have to be there to review and interpret those tests. Here's one. So it's really easy to import as well. So basically importing a diagnostic test, and we can go into this in more detail if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one, but your devices will be listed here. So you just choose the device, choose the test, which iOS, who did it if you want, and if there was an order, then you can do that as well. Once you hit attach test to Encounter, you're done. That's it, and it's already in IntegraView. So that IntegraView system, keep in mind that's where all of your testing is housed. Here's that new test that I just added. So if I'm a doctor and I'm off site, I can still open this up from my login, do my interpretation, within normal limits. This is all customizable as well. You can configure your interpretation screens quite easily here and customize those. But pretty simple. You just kind of attach the test from the Encounter and your devices will all be listed there.
Perfect. And we did have another question come through. Is the system compatible with the IRIS registry automatically pulling data for MIPS reporting, as this is currently works in MDO office?
Yes, so we do have the connection to the IRIS registry, so we can set that up for you with your logins, as well as, and I don't have it on the dummy site, but you would have a button right here where you can monitor your, sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied, where you can monitor your MIPS dashboard. So I could show this in a one-on-one environment with the screenshots and everything, but the dummy site doesn't have that, but you can monitor your dashboard, and that's where the information that will populate in IRIS would come from.
Perfect. I haven't seen any other questions come through. So Ashley, if you want to switch over to the PowerPoint presentation, I actually have two things just to go over before we sign off for today. So we do have an additional webinar this month on July 24th, and that is going to feature Dave Boer, who is an account executive at myCare Leaders. And he is going to share with you a live demo of myCare iMedicWare. And he will also be reviewing the benefits of cloud-based software and sharing with you what people love about the solution. So please feel free to sign up at iCareLeaders.com if you're interested in learning more about myCare iMedicWare. And then the second thing is, if we have anyone online who is already a client of iCare Leaders, we will have our user summit, which is the next slide over. It is going to take place August 2nd through the 4th in Aurora, Colorado. Our regular registration rates and the deadline to book your hotel using our group rate of $199 is still available until July 17th. We do have over 69 sessions, and 36 of those classes can actually be used to earn continuing education credits. So this is a great opportunity to come out and learn more about the software you're currently using, and also gain knowledge about the industry and just network with our teams and your peers as well. So you can go to eclsummit.com to learn more. We will be emailing out the recording from today. So please, if you think of any questions, please just respond to that email, and we can get back with you with the answer. And then also make sure to follow us on Twitter at iCare Leaders for summarized tips and action items from today's webinar. And that concludes the webinar for today. Thank you all so much for joining, and have a great day.